All right, we're going to go over airless sprayers and their common problems, as well as how they function, so you can learn how you can properly troubleshoot your airless sprayer, whether you're having inconsistent spray patterns or you're unable to build pressure in the unit, and the common problems that occur other than those. So we'll go over those today, and let's go ahead and get started. All right, so to understand why airless sprayers have problems and how you can troubleshoot an airless, it's important to understand the basic way an airless works. Whether it's air or electric driven, an air motor inside of the top of the unit drives a piston, a fluid section, and drives this piston rod up and down through the fluid section. As that occurs, balls on the lower and upper end of the fluid section open and close, allowing material to enter and then be forced out of the fluid section out to your airless spray gun. For the most part, there's packings that allow this rod to seat inside of the fluid section and prevent material from escaping other than from within inside the fluid area itself, and then the balls and seats that contain the material inside the fluid section and control how it's released out to the airless spray gun. The problems you can typically have with the airless include inconsistent spray patterns, that's one of your biggest problems, or failure to pressurize the pump. Knowing how it operates, you can begin to know how to troubleshoot the unit properly. If you find you can't get a consistent spray pattern, there are a few primary reasons that this occurs with an airless. First, it may be that your packings are worn. Packings exist on both the top end, which is this portion of your airless unit, and the bottom end. At the top end, they are usually stationary packings that sit down inside. This unit actually doesn't have them in it, but they sit between two metal fittings and are able to hold stationary as the rod moves in and out of the fluid section, as you'll see here. So the rod moves in and out of fluid section, and this part stays stationary, and the packings keep the material inside that section. As they wear, they may cause your pattern to be inconsistent because the pressure will not maintain an equal amount in the fluid section. So that's your top packing. Most airless will have a nut like this that allow you to tighten down those top packings to either increase the life of the sprayer as those packings wear over time, or to potentially resolve any issue with inconsistent pressure and spray pattern. Be careful over tightening that nut, because you can actually over compress the packings and begin to actually wear the actual rod here itself, which will cause performance problems and is a lot more expensive to replace the rod rather than just the packing set. So over time, you may notice that fluid begins to escape out of this top portion of your sprayer, and that would be an indication that your top packings especially have begun to wear too much or have even failed. At the bottom of the fluid section are another set of packings on the bottom of your fluid tube that can also wear. This one's missing one here, and these are significantly worn. These move up and down inside the fluid section, and if those were wear, you would also can notice an inconsistent spray pattern. So that would be one reason that you'd have an inconsistent spray pattern. The other primary cause of an inconsistent spray pattern is that your ball and seat inside the fluid section have worn. There's a ball and seat at the top portion of the fluid section, which when assembled will be here, and then there's a bottom one as well. These are open and close as the fluid section is moved up and down, allowing material in and out and pressure to build. If the ball and seat are worn and aren't seating properly, that will prevent your pump from having consistent pressure. And one of the telltale signs of when that's occurring is that you'll notice your pump moving up and down and skipping a stroke completely. So instead of nice, consistent actuation of your fluid section, you'll hear it go psh, and then immediately bounce back to the top and then go to the same stroke again. And that would be a sign that the ball and seat are either stuck or they have failed and are no longer sealing properly. This is your top one, would be in this section of this sprayer, and then your bottom one actually sits down inside of your bottom fluid section. We'll show the unit assembled so you can have an overall look, but you can see that's my ball and seat there. If the sprayer is also not pressurizing at all, which is another common and one of the more likely issues that you can have with your sprayer, that would be a sign that your ball and seat are stuck. You can use a basic tool, anything that's soft, to kind of unseat these and loosen them if they get stuck when they're in the closed and assembled position. We'll show you what that would look like. This is the bottom ball. That would be the one that you would be able to easily break free if it is stuck. That'd be one reason why your unit wouldn't pressurize. Another one might be that you actually have too much buildup in your fluid outlet area. These do have a strainer inside typically, both here and at your gun, and if those are plugged, that can prevent your unit from allowing it to pressurize well or at all. And finally, if your unit has a pickup tube attached at the bottom and that's come loose, which we'll show you what that looks like here in a second, that can cause your unit to suck air and prevent the unit from actually building any pressure in the fluid section, which will cause it to fail to pressurize. If none of those are the cause, it may be bad packings, but the ball and seat plugged filters are more common issues. And if none of those are what's going on, then you could have a bad pressure switch. The pressure switch serves to determine when the unit has been fully pressurized and then shuts the unit down. But if it's malfunctioning, it may never allow the unit to begin to build pressure. And that would be the most common reasons. And then finally, you may have a motor problem where your actual motor that's driving the piston up and down in the fluid section, you may have that has failed and isn't allowing the unit to actually deliver any power to begin building pressure. You'd typically notice that though, because it would, you'd hear the electric motor itself stall, or it would be tripping a circuit and similar problems like that. So we'll reassemble this so you can see where the top and lower ball and seat are located when it's assembled, show you how to break free a lower ball that might be stuck, and show you the overall location of each of the components when it's fully reassembled, as well as the pickup tube. All right, so this is how the unit looks built. Obviously there'd be a plate here, but this lets you see the inside. So this is your tightening nut that you can twist down to increase the compression on the packing on the top packings, which will help if paint's coming out here. That just means your packings are probably wearing, so that would be your step to fix that. And then your upper ball and seat are right in this area, and your lower ball and seat are actually within this section here, as you can see the ball sitting there. Now assembled, there'd be a pickup tube on the bottom of this fluid bottom section, and that right here. So if this is, that would be my first thing to check if I notice my sprayer isn't building pressure, is that if this is loose. And then if you're notice that you can't get it to pressurize and it's running, the first thing I'd check is that this ball at the bottom has been loosened. You could use a pencil eraser or something soft. You don't want to damage the metal ball and seat, but you would push on that and see if it breaks loose. It may have gotten paint build up on it, which causing it to stick. And all you would be doing when you're trying to loosen it is much like you see I'm doing here, by pushing on the section that's actually causing it to unseat and unstick from the bottom of the seat. So that would be unloosing in it, and that might be the cause of why your sprayer wouldn't be able to be building pressure. And then you check some of the other things we said. But those are the primary issues you run into with the airless sprayer, and now you kind of understand how they work and why issues may occur, so you can better troubleshoot when you're using it in your work.